Parking in Spokane could get a lot more expensive next year, and the reason behind it has sparked one of the most heated debates we've seen downtown in years. The city says it's part of a bold plan to fight the affordable housing crisis by transforming downtown parking lots into housing, but downtown business leaders, they are calling it economic suicide. I'm Haydn, Halsted, your Spokane real estate resource. If you like staying up to date on everything happening in and around Spokane, from housing to local policy, hit the subscribe button and check the link below to join my weekly newsletter. It's not spam, it's just great Spokane information. So Spokane City Council is considering a brand new 12% tax on commercial parking lots. The goal, according to city leaders, isn't just to raise money, it's to make owning a surface parking lot less profitable so property owners will eventually redevelop them into housing. Right now, parking takes up about 30% of the land in the downtown core, everything from the hospital district to the university district and the Gonzaga area. A 2019 study found about 37,000 total parking spaces downtown, and 85% of which are off-street lots or garages. And here's the key stat. Even at peak hours, only about 56 to 65% of those spaces are actually used. I'm not totally sure where that data came from because I've been downtown at peak hours and it is very hard to find a spot a lot of the time. But that is just anecdotal. Hopefully they did a proper study and they have the proper information. So city leaders are asking a big question. If we've got this much empty parking, why not turn some of it into housing? So this parking tax is actually part 2 of a longer term plan. Last year, the council passed an ordinance that defers state and local taxes, roughly a 9% savings for developers who build housing on what used to be surface parking lots. At least half of those units must be affordable for people earning average incomes. And if developers keep those units affordable for 10 years, the tax is completely forgiven. Now, this new 12% parking tax is the flip side of that coin. The city is essentially saying if you keep your land as a parking lot, it'll cost you more. And if you build housing on it, we'll reward you with tax breaks. And there's one more detail. They are incentivizing parking garages or people that are parking underground, and they're dropping the tax to 6%. But if you're somebody that parks downtown in an underground garage, like in the Paulson building, because there's hundreds of offices in that building, you're going to start paying 6% more for your monthly parking pass. City Transportation Director John Snyder says this is about nudging the market in a different direction, away from acres of asphalt and toward a more vibrant, livable downtown. He's also argued that the extra revenue will help cover transportation costs that have skyrocketed because of inflation. The same dollar that used to repave a street just doesn't stretch as far as it used to. On paper, it's a creative way to attack 2 problems at once, affordable housing and crumbling roads, but that's not how everyone sees it. Within hours of the proposal being made, Downtown Spokane Partnership President Emily Cameron fired off a strongly worded letter to City Hall. She said the proposal blindsided business owners, calling it deeply concerning and saying it was introduced without public notice, engagement, or input. And she's right about the timing. The memo went out on a Friday and the presentation to council happened the following Monday. A final vote is already expected by the end of this month. Cameron wrote, "This plan is being proposed without notification or opportunity for input, leaving property owners and tenants who will shoulder its impact with little time to react." And she's not the only one frustrated. Gordon Hester, CEO of Kiemel and Haygood, one of Spokane's largest commercial property firms, says this proposal could add more than $6,000 a year to his company's operating costs. He also pointed out that office vacancy downtown is already around 32%, and that adding new costs will only push more companies out of the city core. And honestly, that's the phrase that's been echoing around town since the proposal surfaced. Business owners are worried that between safety concerns, lower foot traffic, and now higher parking costs, this could accelerate the slow migration of businesses and visitors out of downtown and into other areas like Spokane Valley or North Spokane, where a business could buy a building that has a parking lot alongside it instead of needing to park in a diamond parking lot downtown that is now going to cost more. And so the frustration goes beyond just this one tax. A Greater Spokane Incorporated survey recently found that 72% of voters don't trust the city to spend their tax dollars responsibly, and 68% think the city already has enough money, it just needs to manage it better. That lack of trust makes this new tax a tough sell. And then there's the safety perception. Only 62% of people say they feel safe downtown, and that number drops to 25% after dark. And that's a huge hurdle if your goal is to bring people back downtown to live, work, or spend money. Just last week, I had talked to a family who was considering moving to Spokane after finding my videos. They came to visit, explored some neighborhoods, and said they loved the area until they went downtown and they had a very uncomfortable experience that they decided not to move here at all. So that's the challenge the city is up against. You can't revitalize downtown if people don't feel comfortable being there. Now, even developers who would want to build housing on these lots are skeptical. Chris Batten, who runs Rencore Realty and chairs the board of the Downtown Spokane Partnership, says the math doesn't pencil out. Under Spokane's current policy, at least 50 50% of the units in a converted parking lot project have to be affordable, but with today's construction costs, that's almost impossible without significant subsidies or additional incentives. He said the idea is well-intentioned, but likely to miss the mark. And there's also concern that the parking lot tax will hit before there's enough incentive to actually replace those lots with viable housing projects. So in other words, we'll make parking more expensive, but not actually see that housing be built for years. And that's why even some city leaders are calling this a test case. Council member Lori Kinnear said if the affordability requirements prove unworkable, they'll use that data to ask the state legislature for adjustments. So the city knows it's an experiment. The problem is, for downtown businesses, this experiment could have real short-term consequences. But of course, supporters say that the long-term benefits outweigh the risk. Transportation Commission member Kaylee Jackman said Spokane is plagued by its abundance of surface lots, calling them wasted opportunities for housing and businesses. Urbanist advocate Eric Lowe went even further, saying these lots extract wealth from Spokane residents with nothing to show for it. And his argument is that out-of-state owners sit on these parcels earning passive income while the city struggles with a housing shortage. So to supporters, this tax is about rebalancing. It's about making downtown land actually work for the city again, not just sit empty waiting for the next event at the arena. They believe this will push landowners to finally redevelop their property, and even if it's a slow process, it'll point Spokane toward a more sustainable housing-rich future. The reality, though, is that downtown Spokane is still in recovery mode. Sales tax growth has plateaued, businesses are operating on tight margins, and we're still battling a public safety image problem that keeps some visitors and potential residents away. The city says this new 12% parking tax will help pay for road repairs and transportation improvements, but that's not what most people are hearing. To them, it feels like one more cost in a city that's getting more expensive to live and operate in. Mayor Lisa Brown's administration argues that surface lots aren't the highest and best use of the land, and in the long term, that's true. Housing would bring in more property tax revenue and make downtown more vibrant. But the question everyone's asking is timing. Is downtown ready for this shift right now, or are we risking another wave of vacancies and lost momentum just as downtown was starting to feel alive again? So if this tax passes, expect parking rates in private lots to climb. It'll cost more to visit downtown, and for now, that extra money won't plug the city's general fund deficit. It'll go straight to transportation projects. We'll likely see some developers explore the affordable housing incentive, but with the 50% affordability rule, most experts believe progress will be slow. And if the city wants this to work, it'll have to prove two things. First, that the revenue from the tax is being used effectively and visibly, meaning people can actually see the improvements. And second, that the housing incentives are strong enough to get real projects moving. Because if this becomes just another tax people don't feel or understand, it's only going to deepen the frustration with city leadership. So at its core, this debate isn't really about parking, it's about trust. The city says it's trying to make Spokane better, but business owners say they've heard that before, and they're tired of paying the price for policies that don't deliver. So is Spokane's parking tax a bold move towards housing sustainability, or is it another hit to an already fragile downtown? That's what we'll find out in the next few months and years. If the city follows through, invests visibly, and communicates clearly, this could mark a turning point, but if it doesn't, downtown could lose even more people and energy that it desperately needs. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button and subscribe. And if you want to stay in the loop on everything happening in Spokane, from housing to local policy, use the link below to join my weekly newsletter. And if you're thinking about buying or selling here in the Spokane area, call, text, email me anytime. All my info is down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.